Kim, what are you seeing as the top challenges affecting recruitment within the UK's current labour market?
That's a really interesting question, which is that the recruitment market has definitely moved over the last 18 months, even outside of political and the pandemic reasons, for a number of reasons. Firstly, we've had this uncertainty with employers in the market, not sure when to go. So they've been holding off on their recruitment drive.
I think they've been talking about the Great Resignation,
Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah. So that's absolutely true. So people have been waiting for this recruitment, the markets have become more clear, and then they're now gone. So in the last 6 months, you've seen an absolute explosion of employers in the market looking for people for their teams, which obviously creates a demand for roles. And then equally on the flip side, you're seeing a scarcity of candidates in the marketplace. So what's happening is it's taking a lot more time for people to find people, and it's obviously costing them a lot more money. But there's really another side to this, which is really important, which is that a lot of people are under the impression that the market hasn't moved and it's still the same as it was 2 years ago, and you can just offer the same salary and will attract the right person to your team. But to give you a real example, we work with a national retailer and we hired a HR advisor with them in January. And we're now doing that same position again because they want to add someone else to their team. And the salary has increased by over 20% in the last 9 months.
Crikey, 20%.
Yeah. And for development roles and technical roles where there's a really high demand, you can see that as high as 30 to 40%.
And do you think that's coming as a consequence of just that sort of wage deflation during the pandemic, or just from the skills shortage and the problems in the structure of the labour market? So I've always talked about skills shortages in the UK.
I think it's a combination of reasons. One of the other reasons is that, as I said, you'll see this more in technical and development roles, because a lot of positions are being created today that just didn't exist, and people are moving their businesses more towards a digital way of doing things. So you're seeing a lot more demand in that area, and obviously there's a shortage of people in the marketplace to do that. That is one thing. The second thing is that that you're just competing against a lot more people, because as I said, there's been uncertainty. There are people in the market, but you can't just go out doing the same thing and just offer the same salary as everyone else. Salaries is one factor, but not the most important factor. That's where you get into culture and value and that type of stuff.
Well, that's quite interesting, because I do think a legacy of the pandemic has been this focus on purpose. So how are you seeing that feed into recruitment?
The biggest thing is, and I think the biggest change that people can make today, is that to recruitment is always generally left until it becomes a problem. You'd be amazed how many times when we speak to people when we first start working, and they'll say, I need someone tomorrow, when can we get started?
I've never heard that.
Yeah. So you will always hear that. But actually, this is because recruitment is generally, the need for recruitment might arise back here, might be 6 months ago, but then it takes a certain time for the board to recognise that becomes an issue, and then for them to initiate a recruitment campaign to get the thing started. So you've created actually this built up pressure. So you're going out into the market in a position of panic, and the whole market recruitment industry is built around finding you a person, when actually the focus should be on that person performing in your role. And that's really important.
What specific areas do you think that means if you were designing your recruitment, you'd try and focus on to draw out that distinction between a candidate and actually the role itself?
Yeah, so there's 3 questions that you can ask. The first question is, why are you hiring for this position? And I don't mean what is this person going to do? So for example, for a salesperson, we need more sales. What we mean is, at a strategic level, why are you hiring for this person? That might be you're going to a new market, you're creating a new division. And that elevates your viewpoint from this low down tactical position into a high level strategic position, which is where your recruitment should be sitting. The second question to ask is, how would you measure that success in 12 months' time? So this person has now come in and they're performing in your position. What have they achieved in 12 months' time to deliver the success? And then the third question to ask is, what would this person need to do on a day-to-day basis to achieve that success? Because the reason is what happens when you're under short-term pressure is you'll get people throwing in unnecessary requirements, and they start thinking, wouldn't it be nice if they did this as well? And you end up with, we call them Franken jobs, where there's all different types of things in there. And you just move away from the reason why, ultimately, from a strategic reason why you're hiring them. Keep it simple, because it will help you communicate to the people that you're looking for why they're coming in, what a good result would look like, and what they need to do on a day-to-day basis to achieve that success. And that immediately has a big difference.
I always call that the quick fitter principle. So this concept that if you were recruiting for a car mechanic and you said, okay, I need 5 years experience, if you recruited someone that is a general mechanic, they might have greater experience, even though they've only had 2 years, than someone who works at Quick Fit, who's worked on air conditioning, tyres, whatever else that the Quick Fit team do, and other providers available, of course. Okay, so we were talking offline, and you were explaining that there's some really startling statistics around, say, 33% of people leaving their new job within the first 6 months. That figure increasing to around 46% after around 18 months. What do you think's affecting the attrition rate, and what do you think employers could do differently?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. That attrition rate, actually, there's some even worse statistics, which is most people leave or don't perform in a role due to poor cultural or value fit. So this is something that the HR directors and teams that we work with are really focusing on, creating an environment and a culture that supports their team. And that starts with, the first point is moving away from this CV-led approach. Has someone done the job for 5 years? If they've done it for 5 years, then they must be good, right? But actually, they could have been not very good in that role. They've just sat there for a number of years.
Yeah.
So what we would advocate is you focus towards capability, which is, could someone do the job?
And presumably that would also help you out from an equality perspective, because one of the things that you often come across from underrepresented groups is that they don't get onto the long or short list because they don't have a track record. And actually, particularly in listed businesses where you're looking for executive directors, some of the problems you experience is that until you become an executive director and you're applying to third parties, some people say, well, how have you demonstrated you can work at that level? Where people want to be able to be assessed on what they could do or what they can do rather than what they have done. So sort of this moving away from have you done it to can you do it may well help you from an equality perspective as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really important. So one of the things that you can do straight away is, of course, CVs are important. Of course, they build part of your recruitment mix. But you can just ask questions. So create an online form and ask situational questions around capability. So could someone do the job? You can even do that on an anonymous basis. How would you deal with this situation? Tell me about a time that you've demonstrated this or you've dealt with this issue. If it's around managing people, tell us about a time when you've managed a difficult situation. How did you support your team?
Yeah.
This might sound obvious, but these are really core questions that you can ask people to really move yourself away from this old CV-led approach into capability and could someone do the job, which is really important.
I think there's also a piece around cultural fit, because one of the things that I've gleaned in the 20 or so years I've been an employment lawyer is that often when companies are saying someone's not performing in the first couple of years of their employment, when you dig into it, it's not that people can't perform, it's that they're not really suited to the environment that they've joined. So presumably there may well be a piece around how to help individuals find the right companies and for companies to actually find the right people and get the wrong people sort of self-selecting out of the recruitment process. How do you sort of build that into your recruitment strategy? Yeah,
so even capability is like one leg of a stool. So there's 4 legs to the stool, which we believe in. And if I start with environment, particularly with working from home and hybrid working, which is something we're seeing a lot more now. You need to create an environment that this person can perform in. And are you doing that? Because if you can create the environment that this person is performing in and you can communicate that in a succinct way, which is, this is actually a really good tip, which is talk about your environment, who you'll be working with. They'll be working with so-and-so, we're a small close-knit team. You want to really humanise your business and give someone an idea of what's actually like to be within your business. So that environment is a really important part that you can communicate. You can also question, are you happy to work in this environment? Again, ask questions. On the culture and value side of things, we sort of call this team fit, which is, where are you going? So what is your vision? And what I don't mean is a corporate vision that an agency might have created for you that sits in a drawer somewhere. What I mean is, where are you actually going, and how do you communicate that to your team? Then the second thing is, what values have you got? Again, these have got to be real. What are the rules that you all live by and you believe in as a team? But equally for this role, because every role has different values that they'll bring to the table, and everyone needs to respect that these different roles have these different values. So you need to be able to communicate them in a succinct way, but also you can question them. How do you demonstrate this value? Again, this will help you understand if these people are going to work out in your team and they're going to perform. And then the last point is around motivation, because most people leave work because they're not fulfilled or they're not motivated in the right way. What are you offering that is outside of a salary? Because it's not just about a salary, it's what support are you giving them? What is the environment? How do you help their career? How do you train them? How do you motivate them? And what can you do for them, as well as what they can do for you? Because it's a two-sided street. It's not all about you as the employer. It's about them finding the right people and attracting them to come into you to ultimately perform.